Well, when we started the Malmö Art Academy in 1995, we wanted to do something a little bit different from the other art academies, which were at that time functioning. We had to choose between two major traditions, one of them being the European continental tradition, which means professor-led run schools with big classes, and the other one being, of course, the Anglo-Saxon model, where you have a much more structured curriculum. And for us, we wanted to choose something in between. One of the things being important for us was that we wanted to change the patriarchal structure, which is normally there when you have a professor-run school. And with patriarchal structure, I don't mean only men filling that patriarchal structure, but also women. It means that you have a kind of master's discourse where the students have to orient towards one authoritarian figure. And this seemed to be not such a good way of making the future young artists, because then you have already a specific kind of structure embedded in the way you're becoming an artist. So we switched everything upside down. We said that in our school, all the students have their own private spaces, that is the studios, and they are the ones who are invited, the professors, not the other way around. So a professor is not allowed to enter into a private space of a student. This sounds very simple, but I could tell you that it wasn't so easy to carry through, because people, professors, teachers became upset and said, well, shouldn't I be able to enter when I want to, and etc., etc. And we were very hard on this, that no, you're actually not allowed to do that. It must be under the initiative of the student. And it means that the power structure is all of a sudden a little bit changed. And it means also that it's not so easy here to orient in a classical patriarchal way, meaning that female students are seen as outside or the other, according to a canon which has much easier to accept a male rebelling artist than a female rebelling artist. And this is actually working quite well. When we started with this, people said to us that this will never ever work. Students wouldn't understand, they would be confused, they would feel unhappy, they must have a very firm guidance, etc., etc. And it turned out to be the opposite, actually. But in addition to this, we would also say that we do focus a lot on the individual work of the future artist. And it means that we would like really the artist to understand a little bit about how she or he is working, why, what kind of process, what kind of understanding do you want, what kind of experiments do you want to include in your own way of understanding art. Then we have a lot of options for the artist to get kind of tools, being able not only to concentrate on your own personal development, but also understanding and being able to participate, for instance, in a broader cultural, intellectual, political discussion, giving the tools for that, being able to write about your own work, being able to present it, being able to install it, being able to cooperate, being able to criticize not only your own work, but also being able to analyze the work of the others, which means that we are slowly a little bit undermining the very, very traditional role of the artist. But for us, it's important to say that none of this is mandatory. It's this young artist, it's a young student who, her or himself, should understand and decide what would be the best for this particular artistic endeavor. Actually, it meant that the traditional authoritarian patriarchal structure is changed here. And it means also that we have about 50-50% women, men on all levels. Students, teachers, technicians, professors, all the way. And it's actually not, I mean, when we implemented it, it's actually not difficult to do it. I mean, an usual, very common argument is to say that, well, actually the women don't want to be professors. That might be true if you are put into an extremely authoritarian structure where you know that you're not able to change anything. We our experience is that we haven't had any problems in finding really interesting women artists who want to become professors and who are professors here at the school. And this goes also not only that artist professors, but also theory professors, which is even more uncommon. And this has to do also with that we don't divide between theory and practice. We see that both theory and practice are different aspects of a specific way of thinking, which we called artistic thinking. And we would like to see what does it mean, what kind of consequences does it have, what kind of situation are you able to operate in if you're operating with an artistic thinking. And again, it means that we are trying to blur traditional boundaries between what you are supposed to do as an artist, what you're supposed to do as a theorist, what you're supposed to do as somebody else, and saying that what might be a difference, maybe, between artistic thinking and other ways of thinking, for instance, scientific thinking, is that the form, the material, and the content is almost interchangeable in artistic thinking, and it produces a very specific understanding, a very specific way of thinking, which we think is enormously interesting. But that might be a difference, but that's one of the very few differences actually between artistic thinking and other ways of thinking.